Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Chatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Yes, so devotees, we are continuing on with Sri Isopanisad. We are in the middle of the purport, more or less, of Mantra 1. We will finish Mantra 1 this evening. And, well, we'll see. Perhaps we'll go on to Mantra 2 also, but at least we'll finish Mantra 1. And so last night, yes, we went through the first, we read the verse in the first 5 paragraphs of the purport, and it was basically, at least in simple terms, there was a bit of recap in the first paragraph, then the independent position of the Lord, and the independent position of the Lord was discussed in the second paragraph. We also found out that Isopanisad is part of the Yajur Veda. That's a very important point. Yes, so like this. That was the first couple of paragraphs. Then third paragraph, that the everything that this world is made of is the energy of the Lord, either the apara, the inferior material energy, or the para prakriti, the superior spiritual living entity. That's us, the jivas, the living beings. That's all there is in this material world. Other than the Lord, there's nothing else. And as those two verses, Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verses 4 and 5 said clearly, Krishna said, in each verse he said that these are my energies, the separated energy, the material energy, and the superior energy, the living entities, us. Yes. And therefore everything's under his control, because it's all just his energy. You can't separate it from him. Then in verse 4, the Lord being perfect and complete was discussed. And in order to illustrate the position of the Lord, the example of heat and light was given. I mean, fire, which has the energies of heat and light. As fire is distributing its energies, Krishna distributes his energies and controls them. And then the fifth paragraph, that people should be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, No one's the proprietor of anything. Everyone is living on borrowed everything. Borrowed from Lord Krsna, borrowed bodies, or you could say borrowed material elements that make up these bodies. They're borrowed from Krsna. And just everything, our clothes, the house, whatever car you might have, my computer, it's Krishna's. He's letting me use it for a while. So therefore, seeing Krishna's kindly allowed us to have whatever various things are, you could say, at our disposal at the moment, particularly for devotees, it's really very much like that. That we should sing for the devotees. It's very clear everything belongs to Krishna. So the devotees should be very careful to use everything for Krishna. Yes. Use everything, and at least for ourselves, not take anything beyond our quota. Because we know about this whole quota idea. Everything belongs to the Lord, and He's provided what everyone needs. We know. The non-devotees don't know. We should help them to understand. But at least for us, because we know, we should stick to our quota and not get carried away, get extravagant. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example, you might remember, of the cow with milk. The cow eats grass. That is her quota. We do not eat grass. It is not our quota. The cow produces milk. She does not drink the milk. It is not her quota. But the milk is very good for us. It's a miracle food, actually. And this is Krishna's arrangement, that the cows are like semi-domesticated, and we can easily get their milk, and it's very good we can offer it to Krishna and then take the remnants. And that's part of the quota. Prabhupada specifically said, milk is part of the quota of the humans. And we did apologize to the vegans when we said that. So now, what we'll do first, actually, we'll read the verse again. Let's just read it again. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magrada kasya svidanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. All right, so like we said last night, it's expanding, developing the theme of completeness. Yeah. In the sense that there are complete arrangements. We must not interfere with those arrangements of the Lord, the quotas of others. No. Okay, so on to paragraph number 6. And again, the same theme, continuing with the same theme. And again, it's related to quotas. that we build buildings. Here we are in the temple. We built the temple. I was involved in raising the funds. Quite a few, by today's rates, a good few million rands actually, with Ramanuja Prabhu and Madhavi Prabhu. We were a team. We raised some money, but we didn't keep it for ourselves. It was used for building the temple for Krishna and buying all the different materials. So, in terms of Sri Isopanisad, Srila Prabhupada gives a particular example here in the 6th paragraph. It's an important example that when you build a building, any building, then normally you employ some people. Some people, maybe a contracting company, or maybe you become what we call here owner builder. You just employ people to do this and do that personally. So now the laborers, the workers who have done all the work, maybe you just stood there and watched them, and they were working and sawing and they did all the work. And maybe you didn't exactly really do any work. You just sort of supervised a bit. But just because the workers did all the work, which made the house, doesn't mean, Prabhupada's pointing out here, doesn't mean that they can now claim that it is their house. No, of course it's not their house. And there is a joke. Let me tell you a joke. I mean, I don't know how funny it is, but it's a joke in this regard, that God is sitting in heaven, and a scientist comes to God and says, listen, God, we don't need you anymore, just go. We've figured out how to create everything. Yeah, we know how to build buildings, test tube babies, and whatever. We can now do whatever you did in the beginning. And so God says, really? Is that right? Can you explain how do you do it? What are you doing? And the scientist says, well, we take some dirt and, well, anyway, it's a bit of a, and, well, we take dirt, we make bricks. We cut down the trees, we take the wood, and then we put it all together and we make houses. And God says, wow, that's interesting, show me. And the scientist bends down to pick up some earth to mold it into a brick. And while his friend goes to cut down a tree, and God says, no, wait a minute. You go and get your own dirt. Haribol, excuse me. Yeah, that is true. Get your own trees. Who said that this planet belongs to the humans to just take whatever they want without paying any price of any sort? That's just their, it's part of their illusion, major illusion. So we go on to the 7th paragraph. Yeah, and Srila Prabhupada, in the 7th paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is mainly focusing on how not accepting the Ishavasya system, not accepting that everything belongs to the Lord, and we should only take what is our quota, and like that, not accepting that. So the people all over the world are fighting about who owns what. This is their idea. You know, like, for example, countries. So many countries in the world just in my lifetime. So many countries have sort of been resized and reshaped. Many, yeah. It's just in my lifetime, what to speak of the last 100 or few hundred years, empires have come and gone. Yes. And what does an empire mean? It means that some people, somehow or other, they become more powerful than the other people, and they just go and dominate the other people and take over. And then they build up an empire. That's what the British did. Exactly what they did. And going back for hundreds of years, all through recorded history, the Roman Empire, Greek Empire, and you know, Austro-Hungarian, Prussian, which one? Ottoman. In India, you know, there were different Maharajas who had their pieces of, you know, some, what they regarded, what they were ruling as a kingdom. But they don't have it now. You know, I've been to Jaipur many times, and there, right in the center, is the city palace of the Maharaj of Jaipur, and he lives there. And the Govindaji temple is down in the grounds of the palace. And that Maharaj of Jaipur, he was ruling the whole city, of course, but a whole area, geographical area around the city. But now he doesn't. Somehow, I guess he's making enough money in business to keep the palace and not lose the palace. But so many other Maharajas, they lost their palaces and they just became some person in the street. Anyway, in paragraph 7, Prabhupada talks about this, how different peoples, somehow or other, they start dominating other people and they start ruling, and then they try to expand, but then they come into conflict with another group of people who are trying to expand in their direction. And here, of course, Prabhupada, particularly in the 7th paragraph, Prabhupada talks about the communists and the capitalists. That was the situation back 50 years ago, 1970, when this book was produced. It was the communist versus the capitalist. It was a big thing. Anyone my age would remember it was a big thing. And is there going to be a world war between the communists and the capitalists? What's going to happen? Yes. So now, of course, well, it's somewhat different. Russia is not so dominant, But now you see China is coming up and trying to dominate. What can you do? Yeah, that's the way it, because of the materialistic consciousness that we are the enjoyers. Things are here for us to enjoy. And because there's the tendency to expand one's field of enjoyment, so it develops onto the national scale. It develops onto the national scale. And they're fighting for certain property, which is Krishna's property. And Prabhupada says here in the purport, where is it? Anyway, it's somewhere in the purport here. Prabhupada says that, yes, the capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. It all belongs to Krishna. And of course, it needs to be governed. Government must be there, but not in the sense that we are the proprietors and we will expand our empire and all of that. I was told that Srila Prabhupada told a sort of like a joke about democracy. Yeah, that's what I was told, that it came from Prabhupada. That there were two countries. One was a big country with kind of uncultured people, really uncultured, rough people. And the other was a smaller country with less people, but they were very cultured and very intelligent. And the bigger country with the rough people, tough people, they were ruled through some sort of dictatorship, maybe a king or something. King means dictatorship. Whereas the smaller country of these intellectuals, cultured people, it was ruled by democracy. They would vote. One day, the big country with the uncultured, rough, tough people invaded the smaller, more intelligent and cultured country and just walked in and said, okay, we're taking over your country. And the intelligent people in the smaller, more cultured country said, you can't do that. We're a democracy. We vote. And we did not vote that you could come in and take us over. And the leader of the big country, where there's a lot more people and they're very rough, etc. The leader said, well, there are more of us than you. And we voted that we would take over your country. So we're doing it. Anyway, Haribol. Yeah. And so Prabhupada says, if they don't recognize the proprietorship of the Lord, then all the property they claim to be their own is stolen. Sure. It's amazing the scale of the theft, massive theft, has gone on and is going on. And Prabhupada, of course, makes the point that they both parties have nuclear bombs. So if they don't accept the Isopanisad and through the teachings of Isopanisad find peace, the whole situation could be ruined, devastated. Many years ago, when I was in England, it was actually in the 70s, the devotees somehow got their hands on a movie, a non-devotee film, and it was shown in the temple to some of the devotees, and I was there too, sort of the senior devotees. And if I remember correctly, it was called Threads. I think it was Threads. And it was the story of what would happen, might happen, if atomic bombs were dropped on England. What would happen when the bombs were dropped, and then the aftermath. What might happen afterwards? Whoa, that's a heavy film. I think it was Threads. Really heavy. Yeah, and these people, I remember Mr. Putin, that when he came into power some whatever number of years ago, there were discussions about what to do with the nuclear weapons, because they had so many and they still do. And there was talk, like there was a lot of talk of nuclear disarmament, and somehow, I don't know how, get rid of the bombs, reduce the number of bombs. But Mr. Putin said, well, I don't know if that's a good idea. We might need to use them. And then I thought, wow, what sort of mentality? What sort of consciousness is that? They know how to destroy, but to make things better, that they can't really do so much. All right, so we go on to now paragraph 8. We got it. 1, 2, we got 4 more paragraphs. Okay, no problem. So Prabhupada makes the point that human beings are not made in such ways that they should quarrel like cats and dogs. Yeah. That the human nature is different from that of cats and dogs. And what is the difference? The main difference is that the humans have intelligence, more intelligence. You know, the animals, of course, you know, they have some intelligence, but not like the humans at all. There's one little incident, I think it's in Prabhupada Leelamrita, where somewhere in India, maybe in Delhi, but somewhere in India, one of the Matajis in Prabhupada's party, because Prabhupada was traveling around India at that time, one of the Matajis was making Prabhupada's lunch, and she was rolling chapatis. And one monkey was watching and was trying to sort of sneak up, but she was keeping an eye to some degree. So when the monkey would start creeping up, she would turn and wave the rolling pin, you know, chase him away a bit. But then at one point, she got distracted, and the monkey came and grabbed a few chapatis. And at that moment, Prabhupada walked out and saw the monkey. And Prabhupada said, just see, in regards to keeping or getting the chapatis, the monkey is more intelligent than you. Yeah. So, but anyway, you know, it's quite obvious what the humans have done compared to what the animals have done. There's such a vast difference, and it's all based on intelligence. But that intelligence has been and is being misused. And therefore, instead of being used for uncovering our real nature, realizing who we really are, and living in ways which we actually should, which we are designed to live as servants of the Lord, and in the end going back to Godhead, instead of using our intelligence for that, we're using our intelligence for economic development, particularly at the moment, for economic development. And, you know, when I was young, when you left school, high school, it wasn't like you just got to go to university. Now it's pretty much like that. Any sort of reasonably intelligent person, they basically must go to university now and get a higher specialized form of education with a view to get to working in that field. When I was young, it wasn't like that. Of course, you know, young people definitely did go to university, but many would just work once they left school, including me. It wasn't felt necessarily that you really needed to do like that. But what is that education now? It's just education for getting a good job. So you can find a boss. Yeah. And just be like an animal, you know, like a sheep or a cow or something, dependent on the boss. And if the boss wants to throw you away, you get thrown away. Yeah. So our intelligence should not be used like that. It should be used for understanding the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are provided for humans and not for cats and dogs. Prabhupada's repeating this: cats and dogs, cats and dogs, cats and dogs. And Prabhupada points out that animals, if they kill other animals for food, they don't get karma. If we kill an animal for food, we get karma because we have that intelligence and we're meant to be able to understand. But because we're misusing the intelligence, we don't understand. But still we get the reactions. And we can give a little example in that regard. We can give a little example that a child, if there's some private property, like a piece of land with a sign on it, trespassers will be prosecuted, and some small child, you know, like a little child, preschool little child, somehow or other goes wandering about a bit and goes onto that land, no one is going to prosecute the child. And of course, if the birds come and land on the land, it's not going to occur to anyone that the birds should be prosecuted. It's just, you know, people will think it's a ridiculous idea. And devotees, what about the grass growing on the land or the trees? No one's going to prosecute the grass or the trees. The idea will not occur. Yeah. But if you or I, if we as adults go on that land, we may well be prosecuted. I remember actually many years ago, it was 1976 or 7. Anyway, it was, yes, maybe 77. I was in charge in England of trying to find a bigger property because Bhaktivedanta Manor was too small. So I would go out searching for properties, and big properties, really big country estates. And I remember I went once with Jayatirtha Das, who was the GBC. Yeah, Jayatirtha and I located a place near the manor. It was not far at all from the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And it was a big sort of, more or less like a castle. And we thought, there was no for sale sign or anything, but we thought, hey, let's just go in and speak to the people and see if they want to sell. So in they went. And out came sort of like a hobo, like a street person in very badly dressed and just looking like a sort of like a vagrant. The only thing was he had a shotgun. And we got out and we're just sort of, And before we could say a word, he pointed the gun at us and said, just get out. And we tried to say a couple of words, but just get out. So we got in the car and we got out. Yeah, so life in the material world. People think they own things. Okay, all right. So paragraph 9, let's have a look here. So, yes. So again, Prabhupada is talking about quotas. First of all, more or less, he's talking about quotas. That the quotas, you could say, for humans and for animals are different. The tiger doesn't eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk because he's carnivorous. That's his nature. It's just built into his whole sort of being to be carnivorous. That's Krishna's arrangement actually for that species. And then, of course, there's so many animals and birds. Some are vegetarian. Some eat anything. Some are strictly carnivorous. Yes. And they follow that system, whatever it is in terms of whatever their species is. Yeah. Because that's been ordained by the Lord. And whatever they do, even if they kill humans, they don't get karmic reactions because they're just following what is their nature. The human nature is different. Human nature means the nature of the soul to be the eternal servant of the Lord, engage in the Lord's service, eat vegetarian food which has been offered to the Lord. This is the actual nature. This is how we're meant to live. But the way things are, we are contradicting our natures. The animals don't really contradict their natures. But we are contradicting our natures by living as big material enjoyers, exploiting the world, controlling the world, killing. And because of all of that, we are getting reactions. Oh my gosh, are we ever getting reactions? It's just a terrible shame. So this is because we have responsibility in the human form of life. We have responsibility. And paragraph 10, Prabhupada makes a very interesting point that if we think, as many people do, that by becoming vegetarian, we are not breaking the laws of nature. We're not doing something wrong. We're not doing something sinful. If we think like that, then it's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. Sometimes people accuse us, devotees. Sometimes they accuse vegetarians, and sometimes they accuse devotees that this is the meat eaters. The meat eaters say, we eat meat, we kill the animals and eat the meat. You, vegetarians, kill the vegetables and eat the vegetables. So, what's the difference? Of course, one important point, although it's not the answer, the real answer, but it's a consideration, an important consideration at least, is that humans are higher than animals, and animals are higher than vegetables. Yeah, in terms of their development. So therefore, it's worse to kill a human than it is to kill an animal. And it's worse to kill an animal than it is to kill a vegetable. There are degrees. It's not all the same. Of course, there's another point, which is, it's an interesting thing. Certain vegetables or fruits, if you eat them, you don't kill them. If you eat an apple, you don't kill the tree. You don't really kill the apple exactly, because the apple is just sort of part of the process of providing seeds for the ongoing reproduction. So that's, it's a consideration, but it's not really the answer. The answer is that Krsna in Bhagavad Gita has instructed us that we must offer our vegetarian, lacto-vegetarian food to him. And then he takes away all the karma. Otherwise, if we kill vegetables, and even if there's certain things which we don't actually kill, but we take them and we eat them, there are karmic reactions for killing a vegetable, killing a potato, or a cauliflower, or whatever like that. These have to be killed in order to be eaten. So you will get karma. Not as much as if you kill an animal, and certainly not as much as if you killed a human, but you'll definitely get karma. It's just a question of degree. It's not a question of killing the animals is bad or killing the humans is bad, but killing the vegetables is not a problem at all. No. It's just a question of degree of severity of bad reaction. But through those that vegetarian food being offered to the Lord, all the karma is removed. And so when you eat the prasad, there's no karma. Not only is there no karma, but you get spiritual benefit. Because the food has been offered to the Lord, it's purified, sanctified. And you get great spiritual benefit from eating it. And then people might say that, well, that's okay for you then, you Hare Krishna devotees. You don't get any karma, you get spiritual benefit by eating your food which is offered to the Lord. But still the vegetables and everything, they all got killed. So it's bad for them. May not be bad for you, but it's bad for the potatoes. But the answer to that is that even the vegetables and whatever is offered to the Lord, those veggies, those ingredients, they also get great spiritual benefit. In fact, it's very likely they'll take human births. Even I saw a statement once by Prabhupada says that the veggies and things offered to Krishna, and then they become prasadam, the devotees eat the prasadam. Those veggies the living entities, the souls that were within them when they were living, they may go back to Godhead through being offered to Krishna and eaten by the devotees. Yeah. So this is the answer. And therefore, devotees, remember this. Sometimes we tell the devotees this. It's a little joke, but it's not a joke. So there's you're a devotee, you're practicing Krishna consciousness, and now you go back to Godhead, Haribol, and you arrive in Goloka Vrindavan. And one devotee walks up to you and says, "Do you remember me? We knew each other." This is in Goloka Vrindavan. "Do you remember me?" And you say, "No, I don't remember you." Because this is now a resident of the spiritual world. "No, I don't remember you. Who are you?" And that person says, "You know, in my previous life, I was a potato. But you cooked me and offered me to Krishna. And then you ate me on the 12th of January, 2021 in the Radharanath temple. And I came back here before you. And now I'm here. Welcome to Goloka Vrindavan." You never know. Yeah, okay. So Prabhupada's basically discussing this in this 10th paragraph, and he makes the point, of course, that those who are not offering their food, their vegetarian food, to the Lord, then they're eating sin. They're actually consuming sin. It's an amazing idea if you think about it. And Prabhupada refers to, he doesn't exactly, certainly doesn't literally quote, but he refers to a very famous verse, Bhagavad Gita 3:13, in which Lord Krishna says, "Yagya shishtashana santo, muchante sarva kilbishai, bunjate te twagam papa, ye pachantyatma karanat." It's 3:13. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, verily eat only sin. Whew. That's a powerful verse. Yeah, okay. So we should live as real human beings. Yeah. We're not living according to our real propensities now. Our propensities now in the human body with the developed intelligence, our propensities are to use the intelligence to understand life and to understand God, and then on the basis of that intelligent understanding, to take up devotional service to the Lord. That is our actual nature. The way people are living now, just working, getting money, gratifying their senses, all of that, it's unnatural. It's quite unnatural. And because it's unnatural, therefore, naturally, because it's unnatural, naturally, there are so many problems that arise. So many problems which arise. And we'll go on to the next paragraph, last paragraph, paragraph 11. In our version of the book, it's on pages 11 and 12. So Srila Prabhupada sums up by saying that the root problem is disobedience of Krishna's laws. That's the root problem. And Prabhupada says, disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Brings ruin. So Prabhupada concludes, conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion, is sure to be recognized by the Lord and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. That's amazing, isn't it? If you use your intelligence in that way to understand life and to appreciate that we must render service to the Lord, and then you render service, then you are sure to be recognized. He will know you. He'll know your name, where you are, who you are, what you are. Sure. And by his mercy, you'll become eligible for going back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. So I just have one little thing here I want to read to you. It's like a paragraph or two. It'll just take 2 or 3 minutes. This is actually, so anyway, the thing is, a major theme of this verse is the need for connecting everything, including ourselves, with Krishna, and not just come to the level of goodness, for example. So one time, Prabhupada in 1973, Prabhupada was giving a class on Nectar of Devotion in Calcutta, and Prabhupada spoke about this illusion of proprietorship, of ownership. And this is what he said. Listen to this. Everyone in this material world who has no Krishna consciousness is a thief, a rogue, a robber. Everyone. just like the Americans. They occupied the land of America by killing the Red Indians. And now they're claiming proprietorship. And there is an immigration department which says, no one can come here. It is our land. This is going on. The first thing is stolen property. There's another story. A group of thieves stole some things, and when they were dividing the booty, one of them said, kindly, morally divide, honestly divide. The thing is taken dishonestly, and they're dividing honestly. This is going on throughout the whole world. Everything is taken dishonestly. And when there's a question of division, the United Nations honestly divides it. Ha ha. The Association of the Honest Men, the United Nations, all plunderers, rogues, thieves, and they have made an association, United Nations, UC. Basically, they're all rogues and thieves. Wow, Prabhupada. That's amazing. As soon as there's an opportunity, they'll commit all criminal activities. And so they're doing. This is not philosophy. Happiness by material possession is the happiness of the rogues and the thieves. One who is happy by possessing some material things is no better than a rogue and a thief. And one who is renouncing Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya is a fool. Because what are you renouncing? When did you possess it? If you possess something, then you can say, I renounce it. But if you do not possess it, then where's the question of renouncement? So both of them are wrong. The renunciates, they don't understand. It all belongs to Krishna. So they're renouncing that I will not be attached for myself. I will be renounced. But such a person is a fool because he doesn't possess. How can you renounce something you don't possess? It's just, it's definitely foolishness. It's craziness, really. Misunderstanding. Terrible misunderstanding. So, Hare Krishna, that's the end of Mantra 1. Tomorrow we'll go on to Mantra 2. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.